The recent Academy Awards ignited a firestorm because for the second year in a row, no people of color were nominated in the 4 acting categories. So there's a spotlight, not just on me, but on Hollywood and its lack of diversity, whether we're talking about on-screen roles or directors, producers, screenwriters, and so on. So if you're on Twitter, you may be following the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. You may have seen the demographic breakdown of the Academy's voting members. The latest Hollywood Diversity Report issued by UCLA and the Entertainment Diversity Report out of the University of Southern California both confirm that this underrepresentation of minorities in the Academy is simply a microcosm for the entire American film and television industry. This is an old conversation, but one that has regained momentum. Much of what I have to say is not unique to Black women and speaks to the struggles of any disenfranchised group seeking representation in the body politic. But my current research focuses on Black women, so that will be my entry point into this conversation. The genre that I am especially interested in is speculative cinema. So these are worlds of fantasy, horror, the supernatural, and science fiction. So yes, I am talking about dragons and zombies and robots, time travel, space travel, apocalypse, Eden. The word speculative suggests the hypothetical, something to be tested out, imagined, dreaded, or hoped for. Speculative can mean risky or unpredictable, but there is really only one limit to this genre of fiction, and that limit is the imagination. Dream it, and it comes into being. To borrow the words of one Captain Jean-Luc Picard, make it so. I would like to challenge all of you as movie watchers, TV show bingers, Blu-ray collectors, and general consumers of popular cultures to dream bigger, to expect more, and to see differently, especially when it comes to race and gender. So, we live in the most technologically advanced age our planet has ever known. We can be immersed in a cinematic experience like never before. Computer-generated imagery can give substance to just about any idea. IMAX, 3D, 4DX are all enhancing our senses. And worldwide box office records, so direct ticket sales, indicate that our cinematic genre of choice is speculative. Now, sites like Box Office Mojo and magazines like Variety track these numbers. Without adjusting for inflation, these are the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. So each of these films made over $1 billion in theaters alone. And 7 out of these 10 titles are speculative. 8 if you want to count Frozen. Even if you look at the top 20, the top 30, the top 40, even the top 50 highest grossing films of all time, 70% qualify as speculative. So those numbers suggest that this genre is incredibly popular, right? Incredibly popular. And it reaches a massive global audience. And yet, there is a remarkable disconnect between these amazing things that we see on screen and the things that we do not see. So, people of color in general, and Black women in particular, remain all but invisible in these magical worlds. And they're also typically absent in those real-world spaces where the magic originates. the boardroom, the stakeholders meeting, the audition. And when Black women are present on screen, they tend to be stereotyped, secondary, marginalized. Okay, I am aware that there was a pioneering Black female character on the Starship Enterprise in the 1960s show Star Trek. And there is no doubt that Uhura, played by Nichelle Nichols, was a game changer for Black women in science fiction. But it has been 50 years since Uhura first appeared on television screens in 1966. 50 years. And my point is that representations of Black women in the speculative genre have changed very little in that half a century. They're still playing the same predictable parts, despite the fact that anything should be possible in this genre. Granted, we're in a new millennium now, and the new millennium has produced some wonderful television characters. Zoe Washburn in Firefly, or Martha Jones in Doctor Who, empowered and intelligent women who play important parts. These kinds of characters enrich these shows and model new possibilities to viewers, especially viewers who may look like Zoe and Martha. Zoe's not the captain, right? Martha is not the doctor. It is those frontiers that shows like Firefly and Doctor Who have yet to cross. Those are the speculative realities that are implicitly too mind-blowing to realize, even in the 21st century. On the big screen, we see a similar pattern. So there are relatively few recent American or British speculative films with a Black woman in a prominent role. And when I say prominent, I mean that the actress in question either has top billing or sustained screen time. All of these titles are at least a decade old. And in most of them, the Black female character plays a supporting rather than a lead part. There are 3 titles here where the Black woman is the obvious hero, the unambiguous protagonist. Gothica, Catwoman, Alien versus Predator. But these 3 films are also considered bad movies by critics. They are. So in other words, weak directing, weak acting, weak scripts. Halle Berry famously derided her own starring role in Catwoman when she accepted the Worst Actress Award at the Golden Raspberry, or Razzie, ceremony. Now let's not forget that Berry had just won an Oscar for Best Actress 2 years earlier. What these kinds of examples suggest, at least to me, is that Black actresses, even superstars like Halle Berry, have yet to be cast in quality speculative films as the primary or solitary protagonist. Now, think back with me for a moment to that list of the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. 2 of the top 3 are speculative, and they both include Black actresses. Zoe Saldana features in Avatar, and Lupita Nyong'o, another Oscar winner, features in Star Wars: The Force Awakens. In case you can't tell, neither actress plays a Black woman, right? They are both playing non-human alien species. So CGI effects erase their Blackness very literally and entirely. And finally, let's take a look at a more current, perhaps more obvious example of a Black woman in a prominent role. The new version of Uhura, also played by Saldana in the rebooted Star Trek films of J.J. Abrams. Now, I will be the first to admit that there are automatic limits to cinematic reboots. If you change it too much, it becomes unrecognizable and thus defeats the point. So one must remain somewhat faithful to the original. But in the case of these newest Star Trek films, that has also meant rebooting, recycling, right? The marginalization and the silencing of the only black female character. Familiarly, if you think to Uhura from 50 years ago, Uhura has limited agency, limited dialogue, limited screen time. And while her potential is there, right, she signals all kinds of possibilities, her potential remains largely untapped. So we are still waiting for a black woman to walk on Mars, or lead a space federation, or be the primary superhero. We are frozen in time when it comes to those kinds of representations. Meanwhile, a Kenyan film like Pumzi, which is by a black female director, shows us in 20 minutes, it's a short film, you can see it on YouTube, 20 minutes, $35,000, something that the entire multi-billion-dollar Hollywood industry has yet to realize in its speculative productions, that a black woman can categorically save the world. Ultimately, the speculative genre should be a gateway for all kinds of diversity on screen. And in some ways, it is. Cinema has no trouble using special effects and makeup to imagine entirely new species and beings. And yet, the industry seems to have incredible difficulty showing the range of human beings that actually exist on this planet. We as consumers need to create a demand for that range, both on and off the screen, a range that transcends superficial tokenization. If the new Star Wars is any indication, global audiences are willing to cheer on female heroes and black heroes if those characters are written into the story. Some of you may remember the Twitter controversy about the casting of the character Rue in the Hunger Games as black. For some viewers of that speculative film, the presence of blackness or black femininity, even in a minor character, was too much of a stretch of the imagination. So for those viewers, a black Rue was inconceivable, let alone a black Katniss Everdeen. But I'm an optimist at heart, and I hope those kinds of viewers are not the majority. I hope most audiences are willing to not just imagine, but endorse casts and characters across races and genders. So, the next time you enter a speculative world and immerse yourself in a new reality, whether it's a space adventure like Star Wars or The Martian, an epic fantasy like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, or a post-apocalyptic wasteland like Mad Max, I urge you to ask yourself whether what you are seeing truly pushes limits, boundaries, and comfort zones. Is this speculative world really showing you something new? And if the answer is no, then I hope you will look for support and create those realities where anyone can be anything. I hope you'll make it so. Thank you.